FM 90.3, nor are such statements necessarily supported or endorsed by the owners, managers, or advertisers of the station. While we encourage all to share their opinions, we do not support any comments that may slander, discriminate, or otherwise offend anyone, and we insist that you refrain from any such statements.
Fellow citizens, near and far, join Newrish Nital on Sugar City 90.3 for Fear No Favor. Tune in to 90.3 on your FM dial. Log on to sugarcityfmsinkits.com or download Simple Radio app from the Google Play Store. Enjoy Newrish Nital every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. as Newrish Nital tackles the issues and take your call. Fear no favor. Every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on Sugar City 90.3 FM.
Good evening and welcome to Fear in Our Favor. There is one particular topic that I would like to address tonight and sincerely address it in a comprehensive manner. So I'll start out with that one and then we'll come down to a few others depending on how time permits us to do that. Now, when somebody starts to work and make their contribution to Social Security, they make a certain number of contributions so that when they reach 62 in this particular case, then they would be paid a pension. They become pensionable. All these years of working by that individual, you would have amassed quite a number of contributions. But there is an issue at hand. This person was incarcerated before he made the age of 62. He made 62 whilst incarcerated, and he was sent the letter to indicate that he is now pensionable and he should sign the appropriate documents to allow the Social Security authorities to proceed as per normal when someone reaches 62 and becomes pensionable. Now, he has been out of prison for a while, but even after 62, he spent some time there. He spent some time after 62 incarcerated. Now, I think that there is a part of the Constitution, well, I don't know, the policies of the Social Security, that a person shall be disqualified for benefits during the period of time that he or she was incarcerated after they reach the age of 62. To me, that can't make sense. That is taking advantage of poor people. When these laws were designed, they were really designed for the blue-collar criminals. And the white-collar criminals who did not go to prison, they got everything that was due to them, because most of the time they were not incarcerated. But let us look at a few situations to show why that cannot be correct. You pay your contributions with the hope that when you turn 62, you'll get your benefit. Having arrived at 62, that money was actually earned by you. You're entitled to it. You have a right to it. Whether you're in America, Russia, Iraq, Israel, wherever you are, You have a right to that money because you would have earned it. Even if you are incarcerated, that money is yours. You earn that. It is like you have an account down at Social Security, and they have some monies they put down for you. If you want to calculate it to a bulk payment, they don't usually would do that, but you'll get the money per month. Now, some persons would pass away shortly after, several years after. Some people benefit more than others based on the time that you remain alive after 62. Many persons didn't even get a chance to get theirs. So you always have something going back from those deaths that took place just before the age of 62. Now, if I have money put on at Social Security that I'm supposed to be getting monthly, whether you're incarcerated or not, that particular stipulation that they have, that has to be unconstitutional. Because if the money belongs to Mr. A, that means that Mr. A's account, per se, even though it is pooled wherever, Mr. A's account has in that amount of money that will be paid to him on a monthly basis, having passed the age or reached the age of 62 and going on after. Well, if that money is due to Mr. A, and you're saying that because he was incarcerated, let us say for another 2 years, that 2-year period worth of money that you should have been given to him, where that money would go if you do not give it to him? You have to ask some serious questions. The money is on his account to be given to him monthly. You have concocted something in your policy that the person shall not receive any benefit for the period of time during which they were incarcerated. Well, I really don't know how you could explain to somebody that the monies in their account at Social Security would not be given to them for that 2-year period for which they remain incarcerated, despite the fact that they would have made 62. Well, the money is theirs. If you want to say that you're not going to give the money to them, well, you can take the money to the prison. You carry $500 to the prison for an individual. The individual could decide whether $100 would go on his account, the commissary, so he could get his fish and certain things that they would have to buy from the prison commissary. And then the other $400 would go on his property. When the money goes on his property, whenever it's time to leave, he would leave with that money on his property. But when it goes to his account, he uses it on a regular basis to buy whatever he needs to keep him healthy, reasonably healthy, and anything extra that he might need on a weekend when they do the barbecue, chicken and fish and other stuff. So the money could have been placed on his property. It is not going into his hand because it is not appropriate and it is illegal to put monies in an inmate's hand. So you go, take it to the prison, they make a note, XYZ. That could have been done. Are we saying that whilst incarcerated, the government is feeding him and the money is coming from the government to go into his bank account? Well, how many persons at the prison the government is feeding? When they send you to prison, they send you there for safekeeping. So he's not the only person there who is being fed by the government. So if you're going to pass a rule, you got to tell those and remand, because actually remanders food supposed to be coming from outside because they're innocent until proven guilty. They're remanded. They're not convicted. So whatever they want, if they want food from outside every day, they're supposed to. But it might not be manageable for the officers them to get it going the way it's supposed to go. And it is extremely unfortunate that this gentleman would have reached 62 and maybe spend months, I'm not absolutely certain whether it's 2 years, over the 62. And he's told by some citation of section 77, subsection 2, that he would have to forego the money that he was supposed to get for that period. But if it is my money and it is in my account and you do not give it to me, what do you do? Take it and share it up amongst a selected few? What do you do with it? It is his money. He is entitled to it. He has a right to it. That means that the people at the bank, if somebody is incarcerated for 9 years, 10 years, the money that they have on their account, they should pay no interest on them because they are incarcerated. No, that can't be fair. Those things were put together to disadvantage poor people who used to make up the majority of the criminals, the blue-collar crimes. But this really can't make sense to me. Really cannot make sense. How could you tell somebody that the money that he would have earned and he has a right to would not be paid to him because he's incarcerated? Well, let us look at a scenario. A and B around the same age. They were even be twins. And A made 62 while he was incarcerated. Well, of course, their twins, so B made 62 as well. Or maybe B might have appealed his matter and is outside. He's outside the prison awaiting his appeal. So let us assume that 2 years would have passed by since he would have put in for his appeal. But sometimes these appeal cases take quite a while to come through. Sometimes you appeal in 2009. That been heard before 2014, and those are the backlog they used to have. So let us assume for a hypothetical situation where B is outside, his twin brother is outside. While when he made 62, he got his letter, he signed, sent it to Social Security. The one in prison got the letter, signed, sent it to Social Security. Are you telling me that the one outside would be getting his monies, his benefits that are due to him, while the one inside cannot get his benefit? Why? The two of them are prisoners. Even if you appeal and you're outside, you are a prisoner, even if you're outside, but you're not incarcerated. The other one who did not appeal for whatever reason, whether he had money to appeal or not, I couldn't find a lawyer, he is housed at HMP. So the one on the outside will be getting his benefits, the one on the inside not getting. That can't make sense to me. Somebody would have to help it make sense, and I believe it should be challenged in the court. That got to be unconstitutional. That got to be unconstitutional, and it is hurtful. By saying that you're being fed in the prison, so it will be double portion if they still give you your Social Security money. Well, how many persons are being fed? How many persons are being fed and not making any contribution to the gross domestic product, so to speak? And the bad part about it is that the gentleman used to work at the motor pool at the camp. So whilst he was incarcerated, he was productively employed at the motor pool, one of the better mechanics we have around in the Federation. So it's not like to say he was sitting down on the prison not doing anything, like several persons are doing. So why not pay him? Why not give him what is due to him? That is how society gets derailed sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't even come from the individual directly, but people who feel that that system is not correct they could start to develop feelings inside of them. And to make matters worse, we have a category of persons getting Social Security who has never ever contributed to Social Security. Well, if you could go as far as that, categorizing people to get benefits who would have never ever made contribution to Social Security, whatever special construction they have, and those persons can get money. Why are you depriving somebody who actually worked and reached the age of 62? Man, I think we are a confused set of people, man. The money is due to the man, whether incarcerated or not. I sure we have persons in the States getting the Social Security. They're not an island. We're not even certain whether these people are incarcerated over in the States. All you do, you send out whatever form and they say, yes, I'm alive, and somebody notarizes that, send it back, you get your Social Security. Nobody sees you. Or the authorities of the Social Security might not see you, but all they know that this is in order because this person is overseas. So if the person is overseas, incarcerated, but we do not know, then what? How do you explain that? And I believe every single cent that is due to somebody after they reach the age of 62, they should get the money whether incarcerated or not. That there is not fair, and it has to be removed from the situation or the policy down at Social Security. It is grossly unfair. It is surgically discriminating. Surgically discriminating. Who would want the money more so than somebody who reached the age of 62, maybe at the age of 64 now? Who would need the money more than that individual? You come out of prison, sometimes because of the stigma associated with that, you have problems raising money. By that time you spend 9, 10 years in jail, your family might have gone on, left you behind. You are a vulnerable part of the population. Why would they deprive you of getting your money that is due to you? I think that stuff has to be taken to the court for them to done with that nonsense. For them to done with that nonsense. Your money is yours. But in the section down below, they now went on to say that if that individual had anybody depending on them to benefit from the Social Security's money, the director would, in the circumstances, give the beneficiaries half of the amount. Well, that is me making the matters even worse. Because you come out big in the previous section, you said that he shall not receive any money for the period of time during which I don't know what factors, I don't know why you're doing it. I know to me it doesn't make sense, but let us assume that you had reasons for doing it. So you say nothing is due, he would be disqualified from getting any money for the period of time for which he was incarcerated. But in the next paragraph, next subsection, you're saying that if there were persons depending on this individual, then the director can make a decision to pay these dependents or beneficiaries half of the amount. Half the amount of what? What you're going to pay them half the amount of? Half the amount of what? So if you continue the analysis, it is half the amount of money that is due to the individual. Well, if nothing is due to him, half or nothing is zero. If nothing was due to that individual, if zero was due to him during that 2-year period while he was incarcerated after making 62, and nothing according to you in the previous section, if nothing is due to him, how can you pay his dependents half of what was due to him? I mean, they will get zero. Half of zero is zero. So they are confusing themselves because they know that they are surgically discriminating against persons who happen to be incarcerated after they reach 62. I don't know who to put these things together. I don't know who to peruse these things before they put them on paper, give them some degree of permanency. Who? You're giving them half the amount. Half the amount of what? Why you didn't give them $500,000? Why you didn't give them $500,000? By giving them half of a specific amount, and that specific amount is what is due to them. Man, we are just in a kind of colonial kind of mindset. Only certain people would have committed crime to go to prison. So you continue to take advantage of them even though they're incarcerated. When you get a prison sentence, you're sent to prison for safekeeping. And if you're going to mess with the psychological mindset of an individual, that is not safekeeping, because the state is contributing to producing abnormality of the mind of the individual. Man could have flipped and gone psychiatric ward. Could have flipped and gone in psychiatric ward. And you have persons who are incarcerated. It's not like they should be continue to be incarcerated at the mercy of somebody. So they too would not be getting their monies. Suppose somebody was sent over to the prison on remand last week, and this week now they made 62. They are incarcerated. They have not been convicted, but they are incarcerated. And there is no qualification of what that section says with respect to whether you are convicted or you are on remand. So you're on remand and you made 62. That means that, and you fill out all the forms and say, yes, why back? I'm now applying for my benefits. Some people have been on remand for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. It might sound like a joke to some. And that is why some persons will go down and take out a constitutional matter, case with them, saying that you did not try my case within a reasonable time. Remy Gums is a good example of that. You can stretch out a man's trial and then want to go try him after that protracted period of time. So if somebody on remand for 3-4 years after they made 62, are you saying because they are incarcerated, they shall be disqualified from receiving the benefit? Because it's during the period of being incarcerated. They didn't say whether you're on remand or you were convicted. This thing needs to be cleared up. Because you could have sentenced somebody to prison. Let us look at the same individual situation. And past 62 by 2 years. You're not giving him his money because he was incarcerated. What happened if he appealed the case and won the appeal? Because he was incarcerated at the time, that is what your policy is stating. He was incarcerated for 2 years past 62. But his appeal only came through after he would have been granted his freedom. But he still went through with the appeal. Still went through with the appeal. And he won his appeal. What happened to the monies that ought to have been paid for him for that 2-year period? And you would have to give him interest as well. You'll have to give him interest. Because Social Security by law can actually invest the contributions they got from everybody. Wisely, of course. So if you're investing and you're making a little profit, if you owe me $40,000 from 2 years or a 2-year period, you can't come now and give me the $40,000. It doesn't work like that. What about the interest on it? It costs money to hold money. And the fact that you're holding my money and there's a very high real probability of you investing it and benefiting from the investment. All these things will have to be taken into consideration. So it is confusing. It remains a very gray area. It is nebulous. And it ought to be put into distinct shades of black and white. And it is unconstitutional to take somebody's money that is already on their account. Not because you're giving them monthly. There's an accumulated amount on that account. But it is given to him on a monthly basis. It is his money. But we can't continue with them kind of colonial attitude towards people. The money is his. And I think that there should be a national debate on that. I think they might have made a little adjustment in that particular line. Because I can recall Donald Sanders. There was a situation with that. And I think they were saying shall not receive the money while incarcerated. No, I'm seeing that is disqualified. If my memory serves me correctly, I don't think the word disqualified was there. I think they had something that would not receive the money, the benefit while incarcerated. If you cannot receive it while incarcerated, I mean that you should get it when you are out, whatever is due to you. Whatever is due to you. That is like a share somebody has in Social Security, you know. That is like a share. That is your share you're getting. If you look at it as a company per se, you're making your contribution. When you reach a certain age, you get your money on a monthly basis. And that can't be any ordinary share. Because had I been getting my money on the outside, and I did not go to the bank to collect 1 month's money, 2 months' money, that means when I got the 3rd month, I should be getting 3 times the monthly money. It should be there on my account. So whether or not you sent it to an account for me at a bank, or you kept it down there, it is the same 3 cumulative months that you have to give me my money for. Those are cumulative preference shares. If you ain't give me any this year, for whatever reason, you ain't give me any the next year, and then the 3rd year you got to give me 3 months what? And we got to be fair to people, man. Sometimes we look at people and feel, well, they don't deserve a fight for what is theirs. That they just need to be taken out of the books. Taken out of the books. Doesn't make any sense. But whoever put it there in an egotistic manner, they want it to be kept there because they say that is a brainchild But that can't be fair. What belong to somebody belong to them, whether they're incarcerated or not. So what happened if the person in a coma? What happened if the person became disabled, cannot produce speech? Then money is not due to him still. It is so ridiculous, man. I think somebody needs to challenge that position. 2 paragraphs. They'll be disqualified, and underneath they have, if they have dependents or whoever, they'll pay them half. Half of what? Logic and reason. Half of what? So therefore they're saying half of the money that was due to the individual. Why is Social Security the one to pretend that there's so much for the people? And it is a good institution. A lot of good things will come out. A lot of financial security is promised, and a lot of people would have benefited. And like I've said before, you have a category of persons who never contributed to Social Security. And by special construction, something is given to them on a monthly basis or weekly basis. But if you can do that for persons who did not contribute, how could you tell somebody who consistently contributed and reached the age of 62 but happened to be incarcerated that he can't get money for the 2 extra years that he was incarcerated past 62? We got to be so careful. They have something they call false positive. You might have gotten a conviction on this person, but it could have been a false positive. Jurors get it wrong at times, but some people don't have the means to appeal, so they absorb what come their way. You see, so many times DNA set people free after 30, 40, 45 years, 50 years incarcerated. So we don't believe that there are persons in St. Kitts Nevis who would have been wrongly incarcerated, but just did not have the means of defending and appealing the situation. So if all these are real probabilities, real possibilities, why would you want to surgically punish somebody? Why? And the gentleman was the hardest worker at the motor pool at the camp. So he was working. Even if you say, well, the government feeding you, so we ain't giving you government money. But you're giving money to people who never contributed. You can't be singing sad songs and happy songs at the same time. You got to be consistent. And I think that Social Security lack consistency within that context. And it must be looked into. The Prime Minister is the Minister for, I think, responsible for Social Security. He would have to look into that. That cannot be fair. Cannot be fair. Yeah, and like it's $10 million. A man reached 60 something. The man wanted money. What is life expectancy around here? The man in need of his money, man. We should not treat people like that. And they have this policy that if you did not apply and this and that, and if you're late, so you're supposed to apply in June and you didn't apply before September. They're telling you July, August, September, you got to forego that. But that can't be right. Social Security should be chasing you down to let you know that your benefits are due. Some people you send out a letter. I mean, how many persons? Some people can't read, some people illiterate. So you don't get a response from that individual. And somehow some family member realized that it's around this time he's supposed to be getting something. And then they get power of attorney and they start to do what they have to do. But you tell that individual, oh, you apply late, you should have applied since you became due, since June, but you ain't come before September. So July, August gone on the June. So you tell these people these things, what happened to the money that you have on the account at Social Security? Who gets that money? So you're denying these people what is due to them because you want to give other people who did not make any contribution, use that to pay other people for various stuff. Can't be fair. Or you use that money to lend who? Various governmental institutions. Eh? And then people who owe Social Security are like $9 million. Nobody hustling them down for the payment. But the man who money was due to him for 2 years, you telling him he got to forego that. He got to forego that. The amount of government institutions that owe Social Security. Are you trying to set off all the horse that they ain't giving us? So what is due to this gentleman, we ain't going to give him either side and set off a bit of what the horse are not paying us. We can't think like that. The guy put his contributions there on a regular basis, and the money is his. If we can see through that and take those 2 paragraphs out of that Social Security policy, then we're ready as a country to move on. We're not ready. And all of you who were in Social Security and was in charge of Social Security and maintained those 277, 1 and 2 inside of the booklet, the guidelines, y'all should be ashamed of yourself. Can't be right. That is how people would lose it. Multiply the amount of money the guy is supposed to be getting a month time. Multiply it by 24 months or 21 months. And see if it is not a substantial amount. Then multiply the amount you pay people who never contributed to Social Security and how many years you have been paying them, and see if what you have paid them thus far isn't a substantial amount. Well, if you can't afford to pay who you owe, and who contribute, and who deserve, how can you construct something to pay people who ain't contribute? I'm not saying that you should not help. Yes, you should help. But yes, you must not deny him his money. Something becomes payable, it becomes payable. 62 is like a contractual arrangement, you know. I gave my consideration because that is contract law. What is your consideration? What is your consideration? It means, well, he put in his contributions. So those were his considerations throughout the year. And Social Security's consideration kicks in at 62. Every single penny that was due as part of Social Security consideration should be taken into consideration. I'm going to give you this pen. Okay, you give me that pencil. So the consideration for me is the pen, and the consideration for you is that pencil. Is that, in other words, what is your part of the deal? You're working out a deal. I'm going to give you $10. You going to provide me with a spliff. So my consideration is $10 and your consideration is a quantity of spliff you decide would cost you $10. What is your part of the deal? Well, somebody can have a contractual arrangement with Social Security. Pay you all the contributions, as many as they could have. And then when your turn come now, you want to breach your contractual arrangement, kick in at 62. You want to deny me between 62 and 64. That wasn't part of the deal. That wasn't part of the deal. You think kick in at 62? I mean, you can't get a contractual arrangement with a dead man. But a man very much alive. Very much alive. We as citizens, we got to stop that nonsense. And I'm making an appeal for those two sections to be taken out the Social Security booklet. 77.1 and 77.2. They can't make sense. And if you got to be fair to it, that is like robbing somebody what is due to them. Yeah, how could you do that to a poor person? And you see the funny thing about that, when poor people commit crimes, they call them blue-collar crimes, blue-collar criminals, and they happen to be incarcerated at 62. You're happy for a double whammy on top of them. They're incarcerated, the freedom taken away, and yes, the right and the entitlement taken away from them too. No. But when the white-collar criminals do what they're supposed to do, they get protection from those in high places. For whatever reason, we don't know. So when they reach 62 hours and they're outside, and they could get the Social Security benefits because there's no incarceration for them. Most of the time when a poor person commit a crime, it is a blue-collar crime, it is carrying the magistrate court, high court, criminal trial, convicted, they're going to prison. But when those bad boys, real bad boys them, commit their crimes, they're going in a civil court to be forced to pay back whatever to whatever. It doesn't matter. When someone who recidivates a lot, he goes and he steals a television, you go by his home, you retrieve the television, you give it back to the owner. So no loss there apart from the period of time for which the television was at the criminal home, the blue-collar criminal home. But yet you try a case, find the person guilty, send them to prison. And the asset that they went with is back in the possession of the rightful owner. However, when those white-collar bad boys do what they have to do, whatever they have to do, another bad boy might come and rescue them. Okay, you went with 250,000, you went with 175, 150,000. Somebody comes and they pay the money for you. So the monies were given back. But the act cannot be erased. But yet they spend not even a day in 1840. That can't be right. A television set for what, $1,500? Or a tin of beef, a tin of sardine, 2 sliced bread. Eh? Nobody can empathize with the poor man and say, well, he was hungry and had to be fed. So he went and still was a matter of survival of the the fittest at that time. But those bad boys who commit the white collar crimes, they have hundreds of thousands on their bank account. They have plenty of money. When those people go and do what they have to do, the law should come down severely on top of them. You can't come chatting nonsense. Yeah, what is due to somebody and not giving them? All that they contribute to the bitterness of society. And within a society, you got something called transference. People understand how you feel. That they transfer to somebody else who might not have coping skills as strong as others. All those things incrementally dig away at the core. It doesn't even start on the periphery. It's at the core. How can we surgically discriminate between white collar crime and blue collar crime? A crime is not like a civil matter, you know, where Peter versus Paul. When you commit a criminal offense, it's the society versus you. That is why some people refuse to accept the fact that the virtual complainant would not want anything further to do with a matter. If evidence and everything there already and whatever, and you call them to give witness, you treat them as a hostile witness and you move on. Somebody might be intimidated and don't want to go any further with something. We as a nation would have to come better than that. We have to. I mean, somebody putting a savings aside. You're putting your money aside. 50,000, 60,000, 80,000. So you reach up to 80,000. This is your worth of your account. You reach 62 and you're incarcerated. So the 80,000 that was due to you, they have to subtract some for the benefit that you're supposed to get, maybe $2,500 a month. That's $1,000 for 4 years, 4 months. And then you multiply that. It's the multiplier effect that really bringing on the intensifying the surgical discrimination, you know. How could you do that? I am certain if that person came out halfway through the next month after they made 62, they would not have deducted or deprived that person of that half month. But when they look at the accumulated amount, they realize that it's substantial, and we could cook up something, we could doctor something in order to maintain whatever bank account they're a bank with, maintain that accumulated amount. It can be right, regardless of who. Whether you have an IQ, high like the sky, or one as low as the deepest part of the ocean. It does not matter. You would have earned it. You cannot unearn something that you would have earned already. Somebody could surgically discriminate you and do not give you your just worth. But you cannot unearn something. And the period of time done gone. You earn it over a period of time. That is your consideration. We have so many reasons why people in society should be vexed with those in authority. I was trying to justify something that just doesn't make sense. Can't make sense. Nothing is due to you. But if you got dependents, then give you dependents half. Half of what? Let us take a break here, please. Welcome back to Fear Now Favor. Right now, we are aware that there's a war going on between Israel and Palestine. Now, I would have heard, well, America and a large part of the Western world seem to be on the side of Israel. However, I would have heard on the news that you have some Caribbean leaders who are not in favor of Israel. So you see what is happening there. We would like to really know what is our stand. What is our federation's stand with respect to the war that is going on? You see, Israel, like I said in a post I made, Israel, the pride would have been dented considerably because they're like the flagship when come to military intelligence, top of the game. Everybody has great respect for Israel level of intelligence, technology. We might have sent persons there to get some training. And they are just ashamed that Hamas attacked them from land, sea, and air, and they had absolutely no inclination what was going on and how it happened. So as a result of this shame inducement, they are now flattening the Gaza. Flattening. And the Prime Minister would have indicated that they would never catch themselves for the next 50 years. I saw CNN put up a picture of a baby. That baby is just 4, 5, 6 months or whatever. Something along that parallel. Riddled with bullets. Could you imagine that? A baby. And that is why the Prime Minister of Israel decided that they would have to learn a lesson the hard way. But in doing that, you will have innocent civilian lives that would be taken. Isn't it similar to when Hamas carried out the attack on innocent people? Somebody might say no, depending on which side of the fence you're sitting. I understand that they have now formed a government of national unity. But there are serious implications for us because I think Hamas appealing to its people all over the world, wherever they are, to revenge what is going on against them in the Gaza. No, we don't know what that might lead to. Might lead to them doing things on planes, on cruise ships. They might set up the people to do whatever they have to do. And I think that it is time for our federation to have discussions. What are we going to be doing? We have people on our CBI program. Some of them would have had citizenship by following the protocols and doing whatever they have to do, making whatever payments. Do we make an adjustment right now and say we do not want anybody from here, there, across, there, over there, behind there, and we're not permitting them? Should we recall our citizenship? Should we reimburse people or should we put a suspension? We should have a record. Should we place a suspension on those persons from those regions who might be traveling around under the flexibility of our citizenship? Apart from all that, there are two wars going on, Ukraine and Russia. And the one in the Gaza Strip. That could mean a lot with respect to our importation of things that we cannot help but import. That is a message for us that we got to work on our lessen our import bills because there will be wars and there will be more wars. And we have to be in a position where we can feed ourselves for a protracted period of time. And we also would have to be, the Prime Minister put and the Honorable Sam Condor and a committee together to work out a minimum wage, which they are still getting to. I heard he mentioned something about 500. I'm not saying that he indicated that it will be 500, but I heard 500. And if when you don't do that, how long can that minimum wage be depended upon? Because if things in the, well, oil and gone up, gasoline and gone, anything that relating to oil already gone up. The government is already subsidizing substantially oil products around here. Now, if after you would have given the minimum wage and things start to go up and up and up and up, the minimum wage would have a great differential between itself and the livable wage, because these wars, they have the potential to create a disparity that is beyond the power of the purse of the middle and lower income bracket. So it might be soon after that Mr. Condor and Jenny Mills and those guys would have to revisit that minimum wage. If things continue like this, it is saddening, but it is a wake-up call for us to try to create more industries, try to attract foreign investors, try to create additional touristic products. And I'm always saying that we need to open an industrial site outside of Bastia. Maybe one down in the St. Paul's area, St. Paul Whitegate area, another one in the Tabernacle area. We could, just like we have a manufacturing site at the industrial site, we could get things like that organized. We could even have things produced from local material and sold within our society that would reduce the import costs and all the taxations and so that we have to pay for bringing them in. If the raw material can be had from within the federation, so it be. Or if it can be had from within the region, we do some trade, some bartering. Bartering will come back sooner than later. You know, I give you this, you give me that. I still believe that we could find some use to start some cultivation of sugar cane again. But that doesn't say that we have to go and make sugar. We can produce alcohol, I think methanol or ethanol. There was a German company that was interested in the alcohol that we were about to produce us outside of Connery. Then all of a sudden, a man named Mr. George just disappeared, and we have not heard anything of the ethanol plant that was in Connery. It turned into a mechanic shop, and then the structure just disappeared. I think that we got to start creating jobs, increase the productivity of our people. I agree that the housing initiative might be good to provide people with their own private space. But then with that comes some issues: electricity, infrastructure, water. And I think I heard Mr. Williams indicated that the demand and the supply is just flush right now. They just have sufficient to meet the current demand. Well, that current demand will no longer be the current demand when we put in all those houses. What shall we do? We have to do things simultaneously. And the kind of thousands of houses I understand that would be constructed, the more you put down is the more the demand would be for water and electricity. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We need to start making plans for 5 years ahead. But you don't know how many houses you want to put down. You don't know how that would impact the water supply. I heard the PM talking today on Freedom, indicating that the amount of rainfall is 40% less than last year, which was less than the previous year, which was less than the previous year. So we're getting less and less rainfall. So even if we wanted to dig wells, well, we ain't got to fall first to percolate down into the soil. And then when it is trapped in a particular area, an aquifer, then you could drill your well and extract. But if nothing going on, you can't drill for water if none down there. If rain ain't coming, how the wells will get water down there? You might say, well, some would have been chopped over a period of time and we just need to go and take out. The water would not sit in a well just like that for so long. You have some protected aquifer, you have some unprotected aquifer. So there can be leakage to elsewhere. If you have a protected aquifer, it could be there. But then the one we have at Bastia Valley is basically like you have fresh water floating on top of salt water. So you have what you call a safe yield, meaning how much can you take off from the top of the salt water where you have the fresh water. How much can you take off before you get salt water intrusion? Then if you get salt water intrusion, you have to abandon that well and use the well field in the area to see if you can successfully dig, drill for another well. There's so many things that we have to do. This rainfall, this climate change would have put us in a very vulnerable position, and we got to face the reality. If none going on to create the wells, them a good supply of well water. Now, the the awkward part about this is that because water is becoming scarce, persons are encouraged to get water tanks. Some persons got as much as 2 and 3 major water tanks in the yard, not what the government is giving out. Now, the government would be giving out some storage tanks to go with those that some persons have in the yard already. But if no rain coming, don't care much spout you put around your roof to direct the water when the rain falls. If no rain comes, what is spout going to deposit into those water tanks? No rainfall. So you cannot get water going down into those tanks. So what would happen is that whatever supply we have, whatever reservoir we had, and we distribute the water accordingly, persons with the tank will simply take the water that's supposed to be going through the various communities and put it in the tank, the storage tank. Now, by doing that, you're taking water out of local circulation. You might be localizing a percentage of the water. That means the localization of the wastewater would be considerably reduced or hampered due to the extraction of that from the main source, because that they're gone into storage tank. And who didn't get a chance, whether by gravity fed or whatever, who didn't get a chance to store water would be out of water. We have to, in my opinion, simultaneously carry out desalination. It is obvious that this natural rainfall thing and the reservoirs would not be working. Climate change would have imposed on us, impacted on us quite adversely. We got to go ahead of that, put down those desalination plants, as many as we can. But with the desalination plants, it will be impacting the electricity supply. So we cannot use the electricity supply that we have now, because we're going to also need that electricity supply to supply the new homes that we are building. So the desalination plant would have to go down with the solar energy. We have to bring ourselves 2 years forward. We can't be waiting for 2 years later. We got to come 2 years forward and do what we have to do. So the future would be better provided for. We have to do what we have to do. We cannot afford to idle. We cannot afford not to get it right. We have to use whatever we have to use, wherever we have to go to get the funding. We seem to have made some great friends on the outside. And don't forget, if no rain coming and you don't have, well, it makes sense getting the infrastructure to get the water to the farm, but eventually you have to do that. Where that supply would come from to help agriculture. So it's not just for domestic use alone. How would agriculture be helped without water? We have to think about all that. Yes, everybody put more money into agriculture. But the Met Station is telling us that 40% less rain came this year than last year. So what are they going to water the crops with? Sunlight? Sunlight is necessary for plant to make food, yes. But you need carbon dioxide and water. And of course, chlorophyll in the presence of sunlight to make food. Give you glucose and oxygen for us to breathe. So 6 carbon dioxide, 6 water to give you 1 molecule of glucose and 6 moles of oxygen. But water is an integral part of the equation. Water is on the left hand side, that's a reactant. So if rain is not coming, where the supply of water would come from? To satisfy the equation, carbon dioxide plus water, in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll to give you food and oxygen. Where the water going to come from? You can't continue if you never did start. It will be difficult. So the whole planning thing, climate change would affect a lot of things, not only domestic supply, agriculture. So we might have to continue to import. And then with the passage of time, importation costs would go up. Those who shipping got to pay more, and those who receiving would have to pay more. So subsequently, the prices in the supermarket would go up. They might have to cut the milks them in two. The little milk them they have, the small tin, they might have to now send quarter tins. Some people would be ill afford, will be in a position not to afford the small tin of milk. Soon the supermarkets will be carrying quarter tins. Because if you consider a small one to be half of the big one, and you got to go buy half of the half, that's a quarter. So we got to start thinking outside the box. We got to start thinking fast. We got to start doing what we have. Unless at that particular juncture where everything just falls down on us, it'll be unbearable for a lot of people. Even those who have money might have money and don't have the product to buy. You think when X case, for example, don't care what money you have, you could have money to buy 1,000,000 dozen of eggs. If none there, you just can't buy. Remember, they had a situation where the boats just were not coming. You go in all the supermarkets and the shelves them empty. That was just a warning for us, as a wake-up call. With these wars on now, it's telephone numbers you're going to see on the product them in the supermarket. All of a sudden your eyes, your 20/20 vision gonna get bad. You're gonna be squatting, you're gonna be looking, asking somebody to ascertain that this is the correct price you're seeing. All kind of things would happen. These wars would not be easy. We must cushion ourselves. And that cushion would have to be provided now. It would have to start now, not later. We have to do what we have to do. Let us take a break and come back. This world is not my home. Ready. Welcome back to Fear, Now Favor. Now, we are ardent cricket supporters, and there was a discussion, let me put it that way, about us not bidding for the World Cup. And the blame was being thrown around. Yes, persons would have to work in unison to get things done, to put out a bid. Yes, government, of course, is the lead person in that agent, and they must work in harmonization with the Cricket Association. And I understand what the minister was saying in that to host you would have had to carry out a lot of repairs, and it could have cost us some monies. However, we are still in a position to have some friendly matches, warm up games, entertain some teams here for practice purposes, being together as a family, gelling, building the chemistry. And that too can give us economic spin off. And that was a wise move. The problem seemed to have arisen from communication. The minister said he didn't want to go ahead and do certain things, and then he had to come back and end up in a position and have people angry, have their hopes up high when things just couldn't happen. So he had to take his time. It was like a developmental curve as you go along. It was like a breathing document. However that ended up, at least we get in a few games. But can anybody in St. Kitts be real angry at persons who did not include the Cricket Association in any communication? At times we have to wonder if we really got a Cricket Association. They have been doing an extremely poor job, in my opinion. So I don't even think that people feel comfortable going to them and trying to promote any cause, any common purpose. We have not had a tournament here in a long time. In a very long time. I collected some financial statements for the past 3 years. I think it's up to 2022. And I'm going to peruse those because I'm seeing quite a substantial amount of monies being received by the Cricket Association. And I'm not seeing anything to reflect the usage of that money. You might have partial manifestation, but to say where all that money gone, I'm inviting the Cricket Association and its members to come here and sit with me and let us have a discussion. I don't think they would want to come, though. I really don't think that they would want to come. You can't be receiving so much money and you don't have any major tournaments going on at the local level. Something ain't right. Something is not right. Then all of a sudden, these people want to appear as phoenixes from the ashes, trying to gather some momentum after they would have been comatose for so long. Not a thing going on for grassroots cricket. Not a thing. Comparatively, not a thing. But all of a sudden, Some bidding supposed to take place. So get some matches here. And it come like through exorcism. Dead people. You must communicate. Who could communicate with the dead? Who got the powers? So they wanted the minister to exercise exorcism and communicate with them. Dead, dead. A cricket association dead. And ought to have been buried long time ago. Long time ago. But we keep on putting back the same set of people. And we are not advancing in any way. Anywhere whatsoever. Our cricket is not advancing. You can tell me you have an election. You have about 5 teams and about 40 something individual members conveniently come up there to vote. But let the 40 something members form clubs. Let us end up with 53 clubs. That can't be right. Something is happening that is being hidden. And I think that there should be an inquiry into the functioning of the Cricket Association and let them account for every single cent. And I'm not insinuating anything. I'm saying that I'm not seeing anything manifesting the input and investment in any local cricket, and we need to carry out an investigation as to what's going on there. We need an inquiry. If we having money, over $1 million being given to the Cricket Association, you could correct me. Where that money is going, where previous monies went, I don't even know if we have money for the future. But why do we keep getting these monies and we're not seeing any development? Please don't tell me anything about Connery ground. We cannot continue along this path. And maybe we correct. Make a shift to track and field. Support Kim Collins and his cause. Because this Cricket Association just would not make it. They cannot produce what they're supposed to produce. So what is the next step? Can't keep throwing money down in a rabbit hole, man. Come to the people, have a consultation, and let us know what is going on. It is very, very, very unfortunate that we would have invested so much money on our cricket grounds throughout the entire St. Kitts. Throughout. The persons, when they came here to look at the ground, they were so impressed with the number of grounds that we have of reasonable standard. But they should have asked, where are the cricketers? That is how you would have adjudicated an upward movement of the development of cricket. Not just the grounds. They could play football on the ground. They could practice track and field on the ground. When you do not want to do too much track and field on the hard track up there. You do take some weight off your sole of your feet and go on grass and do some training. But there's absolutely nothing to show. It is my opinion, based on my observations, and supplemented by questioning a few persons, that the Cricket Association has not done much to help cricket. I think that association needs to pack up, revamp, and give somebody else a chance. Some of them might be able to be retrofitted into another association, but I don't believe that we're getting the leadership with the Cricket Association that we would have liked. And everybody's sounding so awkward in defending this bid. They must have a conscience. What are you doing? Where's the association? The minister should have asked that question. Where is the association? What have you been doing? How long have you been there? I have a line here. Here's the beginning. How many centimeters would you have moved during the time that you're here? What cricketers we have produced? Where are they? How many tournaments we have around here? Where the tournaments? Where the inter-school games? Where the giant mall primary school competition? There's nothing happening. Absolutely nothing. But when time comes for people to be punished for the passive conduct, they get a group of people, individuals who come and save them, or presumably save them. I believe that election should have been null and void and have it rerun. Null and void. A bunch of individuals and five teams. That can't make sense, man. Can't make sense. And we're getting money from the World Cricket Association on a frequent basis. Where did we put the money? Where's the bank account? Like I said, I'm going to go through those accounts and we're going to see whether they are genuine accounts or accounts of convenience, fabricated accounting. Because we need to do, we're not only going to look at the balance, we got to do reconciliation. You spend that 200,000, where is the proof? Where is the structure you put up? Where are the results of the tournaments that you held? You have nothing to show. But some people really ain't got any conscience, you know. If I'm a part of an association and we're failing miserably, where my conscience would lead me back to a head table to say vote for me? Where would I even put a campaign together to tell people vote for me? My conscience got to be dead, 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 dead. My conscience got to be dead. Now we could do better than that. We got intelligent people around these associations. Something better must be done. Sometimes we too engulf in politics too. And when I say politics, I don't mean politics of government. Sports politics, a lot of sports politics going on. They feel only certain people should be in positions. Oh, I can feel ain't going anywhere either. You got a few personal bests, but how do they stand up against the regional competition? Oh, I can feel ain't going anywhere. You can't even find a senior girl relay team. So maybe it's a good thing that Kim and his wife would have taken the initiative to try to rescue, salvage. First of all, salvage what is left and then start a grassroots. Something you just have to lose a certain age group. They have no interest, it's no use putting money, valuable, scarce money into certain people. You just skip. A lot of big countries do that, just skip. And come back 3, 4, 5 years later with an exciting product. But if we continue putting energy into people who seemingly have no interest, we cannot move forward. Cannot. I really don't know. We're not making any progress. By the way, I'd like to say congratulations to the young lady from Sandy Point who would have made the West Indies A team to do a little tour. You have to start someplace, and she can only get better. And I think sometimes we take her progress and achievement a bit lightly. And in a country, in an island like St. Kitts, where cricket is on the down, we should be doing everything to encourage Josiah Claxton and put her out there as much as possible. She should be walking with some flyers, brochures, give them out on behalf of St. Kitts. That's part of promoting. Remember, Kika Yamba Gums used to do that. Just support her in every way. That's the only hope we have in cricket right now. That's the only hope. She's the only person reminding people in the cricketing arena that there's a place called St. Kitts. And we got to show more appreciation. We got to embrace her, support her, provide her with equipment that she can do her academics while she's out there. Offer her whatever equipment, whatever apparatus. Because they got to go hand in hand. Our sportsmen and women would not be forever. So at least you got to simultaneously build. You might put 80% into the cricket, 20% into academics. As you get older, the percentage of the sport would go down and some other aspect would have to come up. But for the time being, she's young and she talented, can do many things. I think that she can easily get a scholarship as well. Easily get a scholarship. As an athlete, we're going to say athlete in track and field. And cricket is good. Cricket is really good. Haley Matthews, they'll be happy to get some raw material like Zara Craxton and work with her. Work with her. We need to blow it up. Cricket is so dead in St. Kitts that even a situation like that you just see in a few posts. She done been on the television, on every radio station. People could even pledge financial assistance to her. If everybody in St. Kitts were to give her $1 each, she could end up with well close to $35,000 to walk with and assist her. Remember, she has to train, she has to eat properly. Yes, she has a mother and a father, but as a country, like I said, in the cricketing arena, she's the only person reminding people that there's a place called St. Kitts. We have some guys out there, coaching staff, a part of technical teams. I think Steve Leibert is a main one. I don't know if Junior Mitchum is a part of anything. But in St. Kitts, we are not going any place with the current cricket administrators. Let us take a break and come back. Welcome back to Fear fear now favor. I want to look at our CBI program a bit more. Citizen by investment. I think I understood the Prime Minister today to say that 35% of our revenue is being generated by the CBI program. Now, before this war started, the Caribbean countries were being pressured into adjusting, finishing away with the CBI program by the developed countries. They wanted to pressure us into submission. But we really need the CBI program. The UK and those places, they're rather mindful of persons who might be on these programs throughout the Caribbean and be given that flexibility of moving around. So we could almost anticipate in the very short term that issues might be coming up and persons might be forced to make some hard decisions. The CBI has been at the nucleus of the economic buoyancy of many Caribbean countries. We have to be mindful that there can be instantaneous changes to the overall revenue generation. So we have to plan and plan fast. We have to plan and plan fast. We got to develop the industry. I'm not a fan of marijuana smoking, but I'm aware that it is an industry that we can tap into and benefit big time. The problem we are having is the involvement of young people under 21 smoking this marijuana without any consideration for other people. If we can develop the marijuana industry or the cannabis industry, some people don't like the name marijuana, carries a stigma that impacts them adversely. The cannabis industry, if we can develop that, but we have to ensure that most of the cannabis that is produced is transformed, processed into stuff that we can use with, even at the local scene, without creating a nuisance for others. If we are not going to do some agro-processing of the cannabis plant, we need to ensure that we secure some overseas markets and get 95% of it or whatever is not going to be processed out of the country. We cannot afford to produce a lot of marijuana and the majority of it is kept here, not to be processed but to be smoked by our young men and our young women. It just cannot happen. Dr. Garfield Alexander, I'm with you in trying to push the industry ahead, but I'm not with you with the smoking part of it with all these youngsters. Once again, I think they were slightly confused with this smoking of marijuana because if you have people under 18, let me use the under 18 that you all seem to be lamenting on, under 18, and you say we are going to structure the laws and the policies to effectively shield that vulnerable part of our society. I mean that. I mean that. So you ain't 18 yet, you don't smoke. But at the same time, you are telling the Rastafaris that they can give the under 18 because it's part of their spiritual practices. But that can't make sense. That can't make sense. An under 18 petition is an under 18 petition. I don't care what household you grow up in. The law says you must not give under 18. You cannot take two persons to the court and one family would win as a result of using it as a sacrament in their spiritual worship, and the other one would have to suffer a penalty because they did not protect the under. Under 18 is under 18. And we have to understand that. We have to forever shield that vulnerable part of our society. You mean there are million ways, million benefits that can be had from that cannabis? And the one way that can really impact us most is what we are accentuating. Just smoke. Smoke off your head. And like I said before, we like to say we follow in science, and science said this is good, and of course it is good. But how come when science tell you that the brain is not truly developed or properly developed under the age of 25, we don't want to accept that part. We got a strainer, we're straining out the science, the research results, and we're putting it wherever we want to put it. Whatever inconvenient for us, we just put it there. We can't do that. They said 25, the brain is not fully developed. They came back and they said 30. So how come we don't want to listen to the scientists when they said that? Why we don't want to listen to them? But we want to listen to them with respect to all the benefits that they would have researched and indicated to us that we can get. How come we want to follow that? But we want to follow the protection mechanism that they're putting in place to protect young people's brain. And then they come back later and they say, look, we realize a lot of people start smoking between the 10 and 20 and whatever they're doing. And they said to you, if you start smoking before you're 21, there is a probability 4 times higher that you could get cannabis-induced psychosis. Just giving it, using a euphemism, but we know what they mean by psychosis. When you're just acting a kind of way and you're all messed up because the chemicals within your system are in disarray. If you start smoking before you're 21, there's a higher percentage chance of you suffering from cannabis-induced psychosis, marijuana-induced psychosis, weed-induced psychosis. And the bad part about it is that according to Sanjay Gupta, CNN fame, indicated that once you do it and you experience that, it is irreversible. So when we see our youngsters then behave in a kind of way, and we put in our laws together with respect to cannabis usage, we got to take those scientific findings. I'm very happy today that my good friend, Dr. Joe, the Prime Minister, indicated that I am a doctor and I believe on figures, statistics. I was happy to hear him say that. Very, very happy. So I embrace the opportunity to convince myself that yes, we're going to make some adjustments going on there. Because if we have people smoking before the age of 21 and they get cannabis-induced psychosis, because that is the same science that our good Prime Minister believes in. That is his field. He got to embrace it in a wholesome fashion. You got to embrace it in a wholesome fashion. And if that is happening, whether or not we want to put it out there and we're trying to protect our image, that is all right. Protecting your image doesn't change reality. We have to do what we have to do to protect the youngsters. And somehow, because of the kind of freeing up of the weeds along, just quote unquote freeing up of the weed, the competition is stiff to make a penny. Maybe a dime bag would now have to be a double dime bag in order to get the dime. And once you get clients, you tend to do whatever you have to do to have them coming back to you. So whatever you have to do. You know, I find it real wicked, you know, real wicked on behalf of black people to sell their own black brother crack cocaine or to put spranger inside a weed for their own black brother. How could you love your black brother and you want them to sniff all kind of, what kind of love is that? What kind of love is that? That can't be right. And just like how you're not supposed to give your young black brother those dangerous chemicals to sniff and ingest in whatever other way. You must also protect the future of our country. Because a lot of us do not see the implication, you know. If you continually, I shouldn't even say continually, continuously subject those guys to inhalation of those chemicals that might be a bit too potent for them. And as a result of that, they become laid back, they want to work, lack productivity, an area that the Prime Minister emphasized today. We have to increase our productivity. He did indicate a few ways in which productivity could be increased. But if you don't work at all, that is not any kind of productivity. And if you do not work, you do not have any contributions to make to Social Security. And if the contribution to Social Security is going down, you could see what would happen. Person who would have paid theirs consistently and simply awaited the contributions from the younger part of society, it would be hell to tell the priest. Because you don't put in what you, and when you put in, you're not really putting in for you, you know. When you put in, you're putting in for people who are older than you so they could benefit. And it is replenished and replenished and replenished and add on to and worked in investment and give returns and capital. If those young men would conduct themselves in a way to create a void in the Social Security contribution, but I said that people can catch a backside. Nothing gonna be there for the benefit. Nothing, because you'll have a void. So when they should be pushing in for those ahead of them to get, nothing gonna be there. So those who come in behind them to push for them now, youngsters, to get, they're gonna be under a lot of pressure. They'll be under a lot of pressure. Because just like how those youngsters didn't make sure that those who came before them would have gotten by their contribution, these young people contribution, when they create that void, then they reach there, there's no guarantee that thing might be there for them either. The young ones, them coming behind and push you in and they're going to get a little bit out of it. But what they should have pushed in before, they set before them, and gather interest and create a good foundation and act as a precursor of continuity. If that is lacking, then what? There are serious implications for us creating a society of smokers, young smokers. You got people that smoke and work hard, but you got a good majority of them who smoking and don't want to work at all. The kind of effort it taking for them to make up their minds to work. You'll be surprised to know how long somebody trying to make up their mind to work. I was coming out of a supermarket the other day. Fella said, Teacher Nital, give me $5 now, please. I want to buy something to eat. I said, you're working? He said, no. But he's trying to get a job. I said, you're trying? You getting any responses? He said, not yet. I said, how long you been trying? He said, for 2 years now. So he trying to get a work for 2 years now. He ain't trying to get any work. He just would have gotten a bad habit of not working. And like I always say, a bad habit is like a soft and comfortable bed. Easy to get into and hard to get out of. So he has found himself into this comfortable situation. And he has no intention of coming out. And him, if he wanted, the effort he has to produce to come out of that is beyond him. It would overwhelm him to come out of that. So I guess maybe a year from now, he asked me for another $5. And I asked him, you got the job? He said, no. How long have you been trying? And tell me 3 years. And then another time it's 4 years and 5 years. He has no impetus to go and get a job. He sees the importance of having a job, but he has no impetus to get a job. Because that bad habit has now turned into quicksand. The more he attempts to make an effort, is the deeper he's sinking. We have people like that who need to be brought back. You have persons who need to be brought back on track and worked on. I think society is kind of giving up a little bit too quickly. These people need to be institutionalized and have a series of mentors, different capacity. We need a major rehab center. And my advice to the Prime Minister and those in authority, make sure that you have a rehabilitation center, well equipped and well staffed, so that we don't have people getting out of control. Based on the trajectory that they're on, we could have a sense of that. We might not want to put statistics out there, but the psychiatric ward we have up there, I don't know if you could consider it a rehabilitation center. It is just a raw aspect of rehabilitation, but it is the only thing we have for the time being. We must identify a good piece of land to put down a rehabilitation center, especially if you're going to move to free up the hub some more. And people need to rehabilitate from many other things. It doesn't always have to be drugs and consumption. Could be family issues, could be job issues. And all those persons would need is time in the appropriate setting with the appropriate staff, the most conducive of staff, most conducive of environment to see them make a rebound. You have people on medication going through the psychopharmacological treatment, and they just need to be kept on track. Some people might need to be institutionalized just for a weekend, just for a week, get their head together, get the family support. Research would have shown that family therapy is so effective, and family doesn't really have to be your blood family. Family could be just a support group. And once you lend yourself to that center and family people close to you could come and visit, nice it is when people know that they have some place to go, comfortable to rest their head and get some sleep, get a little entertainment. I think we need a major rehabilitation center. I'm not saying a psychiatric ward. I'm saying a rehabilitation center because some of them only need talk therapy. Some would need talk therapy and medication that you call psychopharmacology. And we do what we have to do to help. And then police might not have to have the task of shooting somebody in the intervention to save somebody else. We cannot go on ignoring these people on the streets. We cannot. And I'm hoping that we take it very. It is a right. Mental patients are people who are not in full control of the mental capacity. They have a right to be protected against themselves and against others and protect others against them. But they have a right to be taken into deep consideration. We stop there for tonight, and thanks for listening. And we have a few persons lined up for the upcoming week and weeks to come, and we hope that you do enjoy what we have to offer. Thank you, and enjoy what is left of our Thursday night.